In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hafiz Muhammad Usman Naveed and I am a
Hi.
foundation level student at Rehan School. So viewers, today I talk for Maya. Hello Maya, how are you?
Hey, good to hear from you. I'm doing well, thanks. What's going on with you today?
What does the word please mean?
Good question. Please is really interesting. It's like this little magic word we add to requests. It basically makes asking for something polite. It's not just about getting what you want, it's about showing respect for the person you're asking. How do you usually use it?
Why is please important in daily life?
Yeah, it's actually pretty core to how we interact. Please smooths things over. When you say please, it's like a little gesture of consideration. It makes people more willing to help and it keeps things from feeling demanding or bossy. I've heard people say it also makes conversations flow smoother because it keeps things from feeling like orders. I do find it makes a difference when you hear it versus just being told what to do.
How does please change the tone of a sentence?
That's a really insightful question. The difference between get me that book and could you please get me that book is huge, right? The please completely changes the tone. Without it, it sounds like an order, maybe even rude. With it, it's softened, respectful, almost like you're asking a favor instead of giving a command. Our brains pick up on those nuances almost instantly, even before we process the actual request. Is that something you've noticed in conversations?
Is politeness learned or natural?
That's a really interesting debate. I think it's both, honestly. Babies aren't born knowing to say please and thank you. They definitely learn those from their families and the people around them. There's also something about innate empathy that makes us more or less naturally inclined to be considerate and respectful. What's your take on it? Do you think politeness is more taught or does it come more naturally in your experience?
Where did the please word originate?
I'm not sure I caught that clearly. The audio is a bit unclear there. Could you say that again? I think I heard place and maybe something about the world or maybe internet.
Where did the word please originate?
Okay. So please actually has a really interesting history. It comes from the old French word plaisir, which meant pleasure or liking. Over time, that morphed into a polite way to ask someone to do something, basically saying, if it pleases you. It eventually became this little politeness marker we use today. Pretty cool how a word about someone's pleasure ended up making our requests nicer, huh?
How was politeness shown in ancient times?
I think you were asking about how politeness was shown historically. So, what did people do before we had please and thank you? Well, cultures used all sorts of indirect ways. In medieval England, people would do elaborate bowing and curtsying or use very formal titles like Your Grace or My Lord. Even body language was a huge deal, lots of respectful gestures or avoiding direct eye contact as a sign of deference. Even now, tone of voice and respect are pretty ingrained in how societies express politeness, regardless of the actual words used. It's pretty wild when you think about how many small nuances we use just to be polite.
Was politeness only for certain classes in history?
Mm, I'm not quite catching what you meant with kirtan classes. Did you mean a specific social class or group? What I do know is that politeness wasn't just for the upper classes historically. Politeness showed up in all levels of society, but how it was expressed changed a lot. For example, among common people, simple gestures like offering a small gift or being respectful in how you spoke to your elders mattered a lot. The rich might have used fancy titles and bows, but everyone understood the concept. Treat people with respect to build relationships and create harmony within your community. Is that what you were thinking about?
How did politeness evolve in with society?
It's really fascinating how politeness changed. Originally, it was mostly about status, like showing respect to someone higher up in the social ladder with formal language and gestures. Then, as society became more level, politeness started being about making everyone feel comfortable and valued. When the middle class grew, politeness became less about strict rules and more about everyday manners that help people cooperate and build community. I've heard that as communication sped up with tech, things like good email etiquette became the new standard for politeness. Do you think tech changed the way people practice politeness today?
Why do humans value polite behavior?
That's a big question. Um, I think it's a few things. First, politeness builds trust. If someone's polite to you, you're more likely to trust them because they're showing respect and consideration. Also, polite behavior makes social interactions smoother, it avoids conflict, keeps things flowing nicely. I've heard that politeness actually has roots in survival too. Societies where people were more polite were more likely to cooperate, which made everyone safer and more successful in the long run. It basically creates a more positive and cooperative environment for everyone. What do you think is the biggest reason people value politeness?
Can one word improve communication?
Absolutely. Please and thank you are the obvious ones. But yeah, one single word can change everything. Even a simple sorry can de escalate a tense situation or show empathy. I think it's more about what that one word signals. It shows you're thoughtful, considerate, and invested in maintaining good relationships. It's like adding a little layer of respect to your communication that makes everything smoother. What single word would you say has the biggest impact on communication?
How does please show respect?
Um, I think you might be asking how please specifically shows respect, right? Yeah, it's about, acknowledging the other person's agency. You say please, you're recognizing that they have a choice. You're not demanding, you're asking. It's a little way of signaling that you value their time, effort, and goodwill. It's about framing a request as a favor rather than a command. Plus, please makes requests sound softer and more considerate, which can really impact how the other person feels when they respond.
Is politeness the same in all culture?
Definitely not. Politeness looks really different depending on where you are in the world. In Japan, bowing deeply shows respect, something we don't really do in a lot of Western cultures. In some cultures, avoiding eye contact is considered polite, while in others, it's seen as disrespectful. Even things like gift giving rituals can vary wildly between countries. What's considered a polite gift in one place might be totally inappropriate somewhere else. What's fascinating is that the intention behind politeness is pretty universal. It's about showing respect and building good relationships, but the actual ways it gets expressed are shaped by culture.
Why do some people avoid saying please?
That's a really interesting question. There are definitely places where please isn't as common or is even seen differently. For example, in Germany, directness is often valued more than please, saying exactly what you need without extra fluff. I've also heard that in some parts of Russia, it's not a standard part of everyday requests. The important thing is what feels rude in one place can be totally normal somewhere else. In some situations, using please too much might even come off as insincere in certain contexts. Have you noticed any differences in politeness between different cultures or regions?
Does saying please make requests more effective?
Oh, absolutely. Studies actually show people are way more likely to help when you ask politely with please compared to just making a demand. It's like psychology. Adding please makes it feel less like you're taking something and more like you're asking for a favor, so people are inclined to be more helpful. I've also heard it builds goodwill. When someone does something for you nicely, they're more likely to want to help out again in the future. It's a small thing that has a surprising impact.
How does politeness affect relationship?
Politeness is huge for relationships, like the foundation they're built on. When you're consistently polite, it shows respect, builds trust, and fosters a sense of connection. It creates a more positive emotional environment where people feel safe, comfortable, and valued. Small things like saying please and thank you really add up over time, making relationships last and grow stronger. People feel better when treated with respect, and that's when they're more likely to want to connect with you. It really comes down to creating a cycle of positivity.
Is politeness important in leadership?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've heard a lot about this. Leaders who are polite are seen as more approachable and trustworthy. When a leader's polite, it sets the tone for the whole team. People feel valued and respected, which actually improves morale and productivity. Plus, being polite helps build strong relationships with colleagues and clients, which are essential for effective leadership. A bit of kindness and respect can go a long way in getting people on board with your vision. Would you say politeness is important to you in leaders you look up to?
How is politeness talk to children?
I I think you mean how do you teach politeness to children? Well, the biggest thing is showing them what it looks like yourself. Kids learn by watching you say please and thank you in everyday situations. Also, praising them when they're polite, like saying, I love how you asked so nicely, helps them understand it's important. Simple games like role playing different scenarios where they have to practice saying please or thank you can help too. What's your experience been like when you were learning to be polite as a child?
What happens when politeness is missing?
When politeness goes missing, it can create real issues. Conversations can get harsh or demanding, and people get defensive or feel disrespected. Simple requests become arguments, or misunderstandings happen more easily. Relationships can strain without the cushion of kindness that politeness provides. People might avoid each other, trust breaks down, and conflict escalates. It's like taking out that little bit of social grease that keeps things running smoothly. What situations have you seen where a little politeness could have made all the difference?
Why is please important in schools?
You might have meant to ask about the importance of politeness in schools. When kids use please and thank you in school, it makes everything run so much better. Student Students respect each other more, and teachers can actually focus on teaching instead of dealing with constant rudeness. There's less conflict, better focus, and kids learn teamwork better too. It's like a foundation for a positive learning environment. What do you think makes a good learning environment at school?
Is politeness a sign of weakness?
That's a really interesting question. Alertness isn't weakness at all. In fact, I'd say it's quite the opposite. Alertness shows awareness, intelligence, and someone paying attention. Some people may misunderstand it for something else, but being alert means you're engaged and picking up on what's going on around you. Are you thinking of a particular situation where someone might see alertness as weakness?
How does social media affect polite language?
That's a really good question. Social media's got a weird effect on polite language, right? On one hand, it makes things super casual. Abbreviations, slang, and emojis have replaced a lot of formal politeness in casual conversations? I've heard some people argue that things like short text make the thank you feel forced, like adding it feels too formal for the space. On the other hand, there's pressure to be careful what you say to avoid cancel culture or backlash. What do you think? Do you think social media has made us more or less polite in real life?
Has technology reduced politeness?
I've heard some pretty interesting points about that. The thing is, technology has kind of created these gray areas for politeness. On one hand, a lot of digital communication is just faster and more informal. Quick texts, direct messages, emojis instead of full sentences. That can sometimes come across as less polite, but on the other hand, we're way more aware of tone and phrasing when we can't see facial expressions or hear vocal tones. It's created this space where things need to be explained more directly when communication relies solely on what's typed. What's your take on this relationship between technology and politeness?
Can politeness improve teamwork?
Absolutely. Politeness is huge for teamwork. It's like the social glue that keeps everyone collaborating smoothly. When people use please and thank you, give each other credit for ideas, and listen respectfully, it builds trust and makes people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and working together. Without politeness, you get tension, passive aggression, and people holding back, then your team just gets stuck. Politeness doesn't just make work easier, it actually makes the whole process feel more pleasant. What's your experience? Have you seen politeness make a real difference in team settings?
How does politeness affect first impression?
Politeness is such a game changer for first impressions. I've heard it can make or break how people see you. When you're polite from the start, you come across as respectful, considerate, and trustworthy. It makes people more open to building relationships with you. Conversely, rudeness can pretty much end things before they start, right? First impressions can take time to shift. So, that polite approach at the beginning is your real shot at setting things off on the right foot. Have you ever had a first impression change because someone was unexpectedly polite?
Is politeness linked to emotional intelligence?
Yeah, I think they're really closely linked. Emotional intelligence is about understanding and managing your own emotions and understanding others' emotions. Being polite often requires that you need to be aware of how your words affect the other person, be empathetic, and adjust your behavior accordingly. So, being polite isn't just good manners, it's actually a sign that someone has strong emotional intelligence. What's your experience? Do you see politeness as a skill that also shows emotional awareness?
Why do manners matter in society?
That's such a fundamental question. Banners really are the glue that holds society together. They create predictability and trust. If everyone follows basic social norms like saying please and thank you, interactions become smoother, relationships function better, and there's less conflict. Manners also show respect and consideration for others, and that's just basic human decency. They're like unwritten rules that remind us to treat each other with respect. Pretty huge when you think about it. They create a more cooperative and civilized society.
Can politeness create trust?
Absolutely. Politeness is a major trust builder. When someone treats you with respect, courtesy, and consideration, it signals to you that they care about the relationship and aren't trying to manipulate or take advantage of you. That builds trust. Like they want a positive interaction with you, not just what they can get out of it. People respond way better when you treat them politely because it signals respect and makes them want to reciprocate that feeling. What has been your experience in terms of politeness, building trust in interactions?
How does please show humility?
Oh, that's a really insightful question. When you use please, it's kind of like acknowledging that you're not above the other person. You're you're asking them to do something for you rather than demanding it as a right. It shows you value their time and effort and recognize that they have choices. I think there's something naturally humble about it. It avoids making requests feel entitled. Politeness helps show respect to the person doing the work. That resonates as humility rather than entitlement, wouldn't you say?
How does culture shape polite words?
That's a huge topic. Culture shapes polite language in so many fascinating ways. Different cultures have totally different ideas about what counts as respectful behavior. In some places, bowing is essential, while in others, eye contact is key. Greetings differ a ton. Certain cultures require many formal exchanges before getting down to business, while others move quickly to what's important. Even the level of directness changes. Some cultures prefer indirect speech, softening statements with layers of politeness, while others value clear, direct communication. Do you know of any specific differences in politeness across cultures that particularly stand out to you?
Why is politeness important at work?
Politeness at work goes beyond just being nice. It's crucial for productivity, teamwork, and even climbing the ladder. When you're polite, you create a more positive work environment, people are more willing to collaborate, and you build stronger relationships. I've heard leaders with good people skills get more things done than those who just push for results. Their teams are more motivated. Plus, a polite attitude diffuses conflict, keeps things moving smoothly, and builds the trust you need to succeed. Does politeness factor into how you approach interactions at work?
Can polite language increase cooperation?
Absolutely. Polite language is like social oil for cooperation. When you use please and thank you and show respect, people are much more willing to help you out. It lowers barriers. It's like building rapport, making people feel valued, and creating a positive environment where collaboration thrives. When things feel easy and respectful, there's less friction, more positive exchanges, and everyone's just happier to pitch in. Have you seen that happen in teams you've been a part of?
How does politeness affect mental well being?
It's amazing how much politeness can affect our mental well being. When you're polite to others, it genuinely makes you feel good. There's a bit of an emotional boost in simply treating people kindly. But more than that, being around politeness is comforting, it reduces stress, creates more harmonious interactions, and lowers tension. A little kindness creates positive circles. When people are pleasant with you, you feel better too. What's been your experience? Do you think politeness contributes to a more peaceful environment around you?
Is politeness a universal value?
I think you meant to ask, is politeness a universal value? And yes, I do think it largely is, even though it looks different in every culture. The underlying concepts of respect, consideration, and showing regard for others are pretty fundamental to human societies everywhere. How it's expressed changes, directness versus indirectness, formality versus informality. But the core idea of treating people well and acknowledging their worth is something most cultures value deeply. Do you agree?
Can politeness change behavior?
Absolutely. Politeness can be really powerful in changing behavior. When someone treats you with respect and kindness, you're more likely to want to reciprocate and treat them well in return. It's human nature. I've heard that positive reinforcement, like politeness, actually creates good habits over time. People notice it and begin to model that behavior. Plus, people often remember how you make them feel more than what you actually say. So, politeness leaves a lasting impression and increases the chance that someone will respond with kindness themselves.
How does language reflect respect?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Language shows respect in so many ways. First, formal language shows distance when we want to be respectful, like calling someone Mr. or Doctor when you don't know them well. Then there's tone. Using a gentle voice versus a harsh one conveys different levels of respect. Words like please and thank you do a lot of work. Even word choice matters. Choosing careful and tactful language over potentially offensive terms. Languages also reflect cultural hierarchies through verb conjugation, honorifics, and levels of formality. What have you noticed about language differences between casual and respectful contexts?
So viewers, this is my session. I hope you like it. Allah Hafiz, Pakistan Zindabad, Rayan School Zindabad.